Today, businesses across the country are still struggling to find talent, even with a record number of job openings at the end of July. The highly anticipated Elizabeth Holmes trial begins today. What's she accused of, and what's her lawyer saying in defense? And is Facebook reading your WhatsApp messages? A new investigation says it is, despite the company repeatedly saying it doesn't read messages between users. That and much more, coming up at NTD Business. Good evening, great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. Good news if you're looking for a gig. New data shows there were nearly 11 million available jobs at the end of July. It's the most ever, according to the Labour Department at least. Comparing that to the number of people unemployed at the end of August, there are now roughly 2.5 million more job openings than unemployed people in the United States. And business owners have told us, though, they're still struggling to fill positions. One supermarket chain today, though, telling us that more people have started coming to them for work, saying their federal unemployment benefit has just expired. Over 22 million jobs were lost in the early months of the pandemic. Most have been recovered, but the U.S. economy is still down around 5.3 million jobs. And the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warning that the U.S. could default on its debt in October if Congress can't agree to raise the debt ceiling. She said the Treasury is taking, quote, extraordinary measures to keep the government within its borrowing limits, but when its cash on hand runs out, the only option will be to default. The U.S. has never defaulted on its debt before, and Yellen wants Congress to raise the debt ceiling to prevent it from happening now. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says Democrats are moving full steam ahead with their latest $3.5 trillion spending bill. The bill would likely mean trillions of new dollars injected into an economy already in the throes of rapidly rising prices. The Consumer Price Index rose 5.4% in the year to July. That's the fastest rise since 2008. It's not just the final price that consumers are paying that's rising. And with the price of industrial commodities like steel, aluminum, and copper still extremely elevated on pre-pandemic levels, we're delighted to be joined by an American manufacturer of heating and cooling products founded in 1938. We have Andrew Chernlund in Minnesota. Andrew, real pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for coming. Can I ask, are these high prices, are they still affecting you? Are you even experiencing shortages of these types of commodities?
Absolutely. We've seen our material costs increase significantly 2 or 3 times for many products. And so our overall cost has gone up for manufacturing about 30% over the last year. And that continues to be the case. And we're fortunate enough where we were able to keep many of our products in stock. But I know many manufacturers for things that we buy and resell have had outages months long.
Incredible. What did the producers of these particular commodities, what did they say to you? What's their excuse or reasons for the high prices?
Normally, they just move it further down the supply chain. So it's their inputs that are the issue, whether it's a specific component. Keep in mind, for a lot of manufacturing of complex items, like a heating system that has hundreds of parts, all it takes is one shortage in the supply chain to affect all the other parts. So what we're really seeing is many different products, but that have a single item that is a major issue.
Is it down to high demand for these particular products or these particular inputs, or is there, as we've heard, supply chain problems with shipping, etc.? What do you think it's down to?
I think it's both. I know for many of the main outages, the ones that are months long, it is both a production and a logistics issue. So not only is production delayed, but even when it is delayed, there's issues in trucking, issues at ports, and things like that that exacerbate the issue. So as demand continues to build up, there isn't the supply to catch up to it even once delivery is actually accomplished.
Is there particular trends happening in this space where things are extremely popular post-pandemic that maybe you weren't seeing such demand for pre-pandemic?
We've seen some overall movement in some of those, but really, I think we're not able to identify that perfectly because there's so many shortages across so many different areas. It's hard to know if there's been a big increase in demand because, frankly, most companies can't supply the existing demand, let alone any increase in demand. So a lot of demand is actually going to be pushed out into the future potentially because of shortages that we're seeing right now.
So you're saying that these elevated prices, we should get used to them, at least in the medium term, you feel?
I think we haven't even seen at the consumer level the elevated prices in full effect. I think you'll see considerable increase in prices not only this year, but in 2022 and potentially beyond.
We often bring different economists on the show. Some of them put the challenges and the elevated prices down to the shipping problems, supply chain problems. There's others who say that the added liquidity, the stimulus that's gone into the economy has really just driven up demand. Would you feel that one is more correct than the other, or they both are kind of on the ball?
I actually do believe that the liquidity issue and the increase in demand from extra consumer dollars is probably the ultimate real driver. It's allowing, to a certain extent, some manufacturers to I guess, eat, for lack of a better term, the increases that they're seeing from some of the logistics partners or some of the manufacturing partners. And so what I've seen in our case is, with some of the price increases that we see from our suppliers and we are forced to pass along just to maintain our existing margin, we haven't always seen a major decrease in demand. But of course, that might vary significantly from product category to product category.
Andrew Churnland. And the Elizabeth Holmes trial begins today. Her lawyer is telling jurors she's not a villain, but rather a hard-working businesswoman whose company simply failed. It's one of the most closely watched trials of a U.S. corporate executive in years. Holmes is accused of duping financial backers, customers, even patients, into believing that her startup, Theranos, was about to revolutionize medicine. The prosecution told the jury Holmes had engaged in lying and cheating to get money and fame, and evidence will show just that. But her lawyer says Holmes didn't go to work every day intending to lie, cheat, and steal. He said her company failed in the end, but failure is not a crime. Holmes has pleaded not guilty to the charges. Wall Street ending lower today, with big tech companies like Apple and Facebook weighing down the NASDAQ from its record high yesterday. The Dow fell 69 points, or 0.2%. S&P 500 lost 6 points, about 0.1%. The NASDAQ dropping 88 points today, about 0.6%. And a new investigation into WhatsApp claims that Facebook is reading its messages. WhatsApp touts itself as having end-to-end encryption and that privacy is at its core. Facebook has repeatedly said it doesn't read messages between users. But the investigation by ProPublica seems to show Facebook employs over 1,000 people to check messages on WhatsApp. Facebook responded, telling Business Insider the only messages they have access to are the ones users send when they report abuse. Facebook says it's unable to read messages or listen to calls sent between users, and a WhatsApp rep at Facebook told Business Insider that they've built the service to limit the data they collect. They said they use personal data to prevent spam, investigate threats, and to ban those engaged in the worst type of abuse. And crypto exchange Coinbase's stock fell 3% today. The company says the Securities and Exchange Commission is threatening to sue it. That's if it goes ahead with plans to launch a program allowing users to earn interest by lending their crypto assets. Fred Katamaya explains.
Just 5 months after its choppy debut on the NASDAQ, Coinbase could find itself in court. The crypto exchange said Wednesday the Securities and Exchange Commission has threatened to sue if it proceeds with plans to launch a lending program. The regulator issued a so-called Wells notice, which tells a company it intends to sue in court. The program in question, Lend, allows users to earn interest by lending crypto assets. Coinbase's chief legal officer said in a blog post that the SEC believes that program involves a security. He said Lend does not qualify as a security because it's not an investment contract or a note. But he said Coinbase will delay the launch of its Lend product until at least October as a result of the warning. The U.S. has begun raising concerns over programs that allow crypto owners to lend in return for interest. In July, New Jersey ordered crypto platform BlockFi to stop offering interest-bearing accounts. And
the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is coming up on Saturday. We look at one of the biggest changes in New York's financial district since the September 11th attacks 2 decades ago. NTD's Phil Zhou has more from Wall Street.
Soaring skyscrapers, the world's biggest banks and investment firms. That's what the financial district in Manhattan is known for. Before 9/11, barely anyone lived here. But today, besides investment firms and offices, you can also find luxury housing, just like this condominium right behind me. 15 Broad Street is the former headquarters of JP Morgan Bank. Today, it's a luxury condo with nearly 400 apartments.
This wasn't a residential neighborhood, and developers took the opportunity to convert these former commercial buildings into residential.
Around 200 office buildings have been converted into residential condos since 9/11. The population in Lower Manhattan has also doubled since then. Corey Weckler is a top real estate agent who started his career in the financial district nearly 20 years ago.
There wasn't even a Duane Reade, which was open past 7 p.m., and the thought of a Duane Reade being open on the weekend was non-existent.
Today, the financial district is a neighborhood. People are moving in and even starting their families here.
I saw the tremendous opportunity that the neighborhood had to offer and was really quick to not only embrace working in the area, but moving me and, at the time, my girlfriend turned wife, turned 2 children, raised my family in the area.
Weckler says buyers get more bang for their buck when they move to the financial district, more value and more space compared to some other pricey areas in the city. Phil Zhou, NTD News, New York.
The world's largest asset manager, Blackrock, is hitting back at one of the world's most famous investors, George Soros. It's after Soros criticized its business dealings in China, accusing it of imperiling the security interests of America. NTD's Allianz Richard says more.
BlackRock responds to George Soros's criticism regarding its massive investment initiative in China. Soros had written in the Wall Street Journal that pouring billions of dollars into China now is a tragic mistake. Soros says BlackRock imperils the national security interests of the U.S. because it's helping to prop up President Xi's regime, which is repressive at home and aggressive abroad. BlackRock responded, "The United States and China have a large and complex economic relationship." It said through our investment activities, U.S.-based asset managers and other financial institutions contribute to the economic interconnectedness of the world's 2 largest economies.
It's based on greed and avarice, and I think there's also influence from the Communist Party inside. I think likely the Communist Party has some influence inside BlackRock and trading favors with BlackRock to give them this license to operate a whole.
Emma Muehlman is an analyst at Ascend Investment Management. She says much of what BlackRock does caters to retirement plans and that China has an aging demographic.
And, no one should be invested in China. They've hit the education sector, they've hit the gaming, and they're going after now start looking like they're going to start cracking down on healthcare. So it's just they're going down the line of public companies.
This comes as BlackRock raises around $1 billion in China, the first foreign firm to do so. In under a week, the BlackRock China New Horizon Mixed Securities Investment Fund got over 111,000 investment orders. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And the Chinese regime's suppression of businesses continues, clamping down further on private education today. It's now banned private tutors from giving online classes. NTD's Patrick Hayden speaks to one education provider who sends English teachers to China.
China on Wednesday banned private tutors from giving classes online or in unregistered venues. That includes residential buildings, hotels and coffee shops. Earlier this year, authorities banned for-profit tutoring in school subjects. They say it's to ease the pressure on children and families.
A lot of the weekend and after-school classes, often online and offline, have been stopped. The double reduction policy that China is doing is basically aimed at reducing the amount of time and money need to be spent on education.
But parents and tutors have been trying to get around the rules. Some agencies were reportedly advertising live-in tutors who could make more than $4,500 a month.
But their parents will still have, that aim for their child to do the best that they can And I think you'll find that there will be a lot of black market one-to-one tutoring going on, and which will require probably a lot of teachers to teach under the table.
Under the new rules, Beijing says local authorities should set fees for registered teaching. In 2020 alone, as much as $10 billion of venture capital poured into China's tutoring sector. In July, the CCP abruptly ordered private tutoring providers to turn into non-profit organizations. The previous boom in the education sector stood to dilute China's state education system and its ideological molding, where Xi Jinping Marxist thought is core to the teaching of China's youth. The restrictions on education have coincided with the regime's effort to boost birth rates. That's as the country faces numerous demographic problems stemming from its one-child policy that started in 1980 and has only recently been relaxed. The crackdown has sent shares in education companies tumbling. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And the $10 billion battle for control of British supermarket chain Morrisons is coming to a head. Looks like it'll be decided with a rarely used auction process. It'll be a contest between two American private equity outfits, Fortress Investment Group versus Clayton, Dubler and Rice. Last month, Morrisons accepted a $9.6 billion bid from CD&R, but Fortress could still trump that offer. Now, Morrisons says it's in talks with regulators over an auction, and after the auction, Morrisons shareholders would vote on whether to accept the winning bid. And German regulators have launched an investigation into Allianz, the country's biggest financial company. It's over a group of its investment funds, according to a Reuters report. Allianz is one of the world's biggest money managers with nearly $3 trillion under management. The funds in the spotlight are called structured alpha funds. They cater to U.S. pension funds for workers such as teachers and subway employees. But during the pandemic, it racked up billions of dollars of losses. Germany's financial regulator wants to know how much Allianz executives knew about or were involved in. That's the events leading up to the losses. Investors have also filed more than 24 lawsuits claiming $6 billion in damages. They say Allianz strayed from its strategy of providing downside protection for market crashes, but Allianz lawyers say the investors were sophisticated and aware of the risks. Allianz is also under American investigation by the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Still to come this evening. After Hurricane Ida, thousands of damaged cars are now expected to flood the used car market. What are the signs to look out for? And a Russian gardener shares the secrets to growing watermelons after 30 years of experimentation, developing his own technologies over the years. That and more after the short break.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. It looks like Apple will reveal its newest iPhones next week. The company's holding a virtual event Tuesday. With the tagline California Streaming, it's expected to unveil the iPhone 13 along with Mini Pro and Pro Max versions. Apple is reportedly working on new AirPods and watches too. And after Hurricane Ida and recent flooding, thousands of flood-damaged cars are expected to flood the market. But sellers might not always tell you about the damage. NTD's Evelyn Lee spoke to an expert to find out what signs to look out for.
If you're thinking about buying a car in the next months, beware. Thousands of flooded cars might make their way onto the car market. Greg Kopf, brand ambassador at CarID.com, says there are checks you can do.
The best thing to do is to do your research online via an auto history reporting service similar to Carfax and AutoCheck. Those are the two main ones available. And based on the vehicle's VIN number, these services can provide you a full history report of the vehicle from the day that it was sold to present.
He says platforms like Carfax even offer a specific flood search within their history report, but this system is not necessarily foolproof. Tully Lehman, a public affairs manager at the National Insurance Crime Bureau, says that following major hurricanes and floods, there are fraudsters who try to scam consumers by selling damaged cars. And a close checkup before buying a car is critical. Kopf says there are ways to withhold certain information.
In-depth checks you can make is literally get on your hands and knees and look under the car. And you're seeing just like flaking rust off of control arms and other important steering and suspension parts. That's not normal for a car that age. That car was obviously exposed to water.
Only checking for a moldy smell might not be enough. According to Lehman, there are dealers that clean up flooded cars and sell them locally or in other states. Kopf says they may go as far as shampooing and detailing seats and carpets or replacing them to cover up damage. But remaining dirt and grime under the carpets are a good indication, he says.
Same thing goes with low-lying metal components in the car, things like your gas and brake pedal arms, and even like the seat frame or the track that's made of metal. If you see signs of rust all over these components, that's another dead giveaway.
And if you're still not sure, you can check for signs if the electrical control units have been underwater. That could include simple checks like turning the radio on and seeing if all the windows function normally. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And Whole Foods is expanding its virtual checkout at 2 new stores. It says it plans to open 2 locations next year with walk-out technology. Tech allows customers to just skip the checkout line. You can enter the store using one of 3 options. Scan a QR code on the Whole Foods app or Amazon app, insert a credit or debit card connected to your Amazon account, or enroll in Amazon One. It's a contactless identity service which lets you pay by placing your palm of your hand above a scanner. Whole Foods says if you don't want to use the new pay option, you can still check out using self-serve checkout lanes or customer service booth. The 2 new stores will be located in Washington, D.C. and Sherman Oaks, California. Amazon's Pay by Palm tech has already been rolled out at Whole Foods in Seattle. And city planning officials in one Texas town get creative. They're using a popular children's toy to break down a complicated issue. Take a look.
Creativity was definitely in play for city officials in Northeast Texas who decided to hit the bricks, Lego bricks that is, to create a Lego version of Arlington to explain the city's annual budget proposal. With the help of a local Lego enthusiast who also happens to be a city employee, officials constructed a 4-minute video breaking down the proposed $522 million fiscal plan for 2022. The aim was to explain a crucial yet complex topic for residents in an understandable and engaging way. And it seems to have worked. The video has gone viral, racking up hundreds of thousands of views and garnering praise from scores of Arlingtonians who seem to appreciate the use of building bricks as the building blocks of fiscal transparency. Speaking of getting creative, a business owner in Fort Myers, Florida, fed up with unfixed potholes on their street, decided to branch out.
They literally put a whole tree in the middle of the road.
Yep, they decided to plant a banana tree in the pothole, hoping to draw attention to it and spur action from local officials. The idea itself ain't exactly bananas, but officials say it's a private road, not managed by the county, meaning property owners will be stuck in the rut until they themselves pay to tackle the root of the problem.
And Britney Spears' father wants to end her court-ordered conservatorship. A new court filing cites hearings in which the singer called the arrangement abusive and cruel. The filing says Jamie Spears wants the best for his daughter and that he'll honor her calls for independence. He's been managing his daughter's finances for 13 years. Another person stepped in to oversee her medical issues in 2019, and an attorney for Britney Spears calls her father's petition a legal victory and vindication. The previously scheduled hearing in the case is set for September 2019. And a Russian gardener claims he's discovered the perfect way to grow watermelons. Now he's sharing some of his techniques with us. NTD's Andrew Thomas reports.
Igor Baskov says he's managing to produce 20 watermelons per plant this year, around 200 watermelons in total. The size is impressive too. Some weigh as much as 26 pounds.
As they say, experience comes over the years. I started with 2 small and tasteless watermelons. I achieved the result of 20 marketable watermelons on 1 bush, and I think that this is not the limit.
The secret of his success is the result of 30 years of agricultural experimentation. Baskov uses biomaterial like manure to raise the soil temperature along with restricted watering.
If the plants are watered, when moisture evaporates from the soil surface, the soil cools down. This technique is well known in agronomic science. But watermelons come from the desert. Why should we water and cool the soil?
Another trick is planting watermelons at big intervals from each other, at least 10 feet apart, so that the leaves don't block the sun from reaching the soil. Arranging beds this way allows the soil temperature to rise by another couple of degrees.
I grew up in Central Asia. As I just told Igor, I remember that taste of those watermelons, you know, from my childhood. And now these remind me of that time, and of those real watermelons. Maybe even to some extent of Uzbek watermelons.
His other crops are impressive too, from potatoes and tomatoes to new hybrid types of lemons and grapes. Now you can even find a pineapple in his greenhouse. It's being grown for fun, but it could turn into another success. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
If at first you don't succeed. That's the latest business updates for today, but you can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.